everybody, and good Tuesday to you. The 27th day of January has brought forth some sunshine, not a complaint, did I hear. As far as the pattern for your forecast period, it will be sunny, snow, sunny, sunny, snow, snow, sunny, in that order. And maybe the weekend, the latter part of your weekend, looks to be possibly the snowiest of all the forecast period. I'll tell you more about that in more detail, but we've got some more sunshine to say the least. We've also got single digits for nighttime lows in your forecast as well. A few days away, but needless to say, winter is very much alive in the forecast period and in eastern Kentucky. Headlines tonight will include talking about Kentucky's homeless and efforts to make sure there are no homeless in parts of the viewing area. Special event tomorrow that I just learned about that I'll be passing along to you and then following up on tomorrow. And more details tonight on the Transtar ambulance service and also Morgan County Judge Executive Tim Conley, who was officially sentenced today. I am at this moment awaiting a phone call from a prosecutor on both cases, and we'll try to work him into the following reports in just a few moments on tonight's program. He was in Washington, D.C., and was expected to call us at his first break sometime this afternoon. So we'll go to a few other things before we get to that news and other information. Kentucky State Police, unfortunately, tonight are confirming the death of a small child, a 9-year-old, who has died after a weekend car crash in Perry County. It all happened sometime after 6:30 Sunday evening near Perry Central High School. Police reports say that 36-year-old Jason Combs was traveling eastbound in his pickup truck when he crossed the center line and into oncoming traffic and struck another vehicle head-on. The drivers of both vehicles were taken to an area hospital, treated, and released. The child, who was the 9-year-old passenger and son in his mother's car, was airlifted to the UK Medical Center and then passed away yesterday from the injuries he sustained. Meanwhile, Combs has thus far been charged with assault, DUI, and wanton endangerment. It's expected that those charges will be upgraded with the death of 9-year-old Randall Wells, who's been identified as the deceased. His mother, once again, was the driver of the vehicle. She, as was the individual who caused the crash as well, were taken to an area hospital, treated, and released. Well, 4 o'clock. It's been there, come and gone today, and now we know, at least for the governor's race, all races. I'll focus on the governor's race tonight, who has officially filed to run in the May primary. Louisville businessman Matt Bevin, if that sounds familiar to you, Bevin challenged Senator Mitch McConnell in the May primary of last year. He has officially filed to run for the GOP nomination for Kentucky governor, and he also announced his running mate, Jean Ann Hampton. So that leaves on the Republican ballot those who filed, 4 individuals, including businessman Matt Bevin. We have Hal Heiner, James Comer, and Justice Will T. Scott. 2 Democrats have filed, those being Jack Conway and Jeff Young. Jeff Young had actually filed earlier and then withdrew his ticket just today in the race for governor. He did so in an effort to drop or change his running mate from Cherokee Schill to Jonathan D. Masters, as was listed on his most recent filing, and the one, of course, which was done just before close of business today. There you have your list of candidates for Kentucky's governor. May primary will be here before you know it. We'll be hearing, I'm sure, a lot about all of those candidates on the airwaves over the next several weeks and months. Well, before we get to our other top headlines, let me talk to you a bit about what I know about this event tomorrow. Before I talk about the homeless population on the local level and efforts to make sure that there is not one, I can tell you the United States Housing and Urban Development Committee today reports that more than $19 million has been awarded to assist homeless housing and service programs here in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. That's part of about $1.8 billion, which was awarded across the United States as a whole. The Louisville area is getting about $9.2 million. The Lexington area, $1.5 million. More than $8 million is to be distributed throughout the rest of the state. We have no finite numbers as to where the rest of that $8.3 million will be designated, but the money, I do know, will go to help in efforts of outreach, housing assistance, job training, health care, child care, substance abuse treatment, and a lot of other categories facing the homeless. Here on the local level, though, I just learned earlier today, and we were unable to sit down for an interview, but we will be able to tomorrow during the event itself. It's the 2015 K Count, the annual count of homeless populations, and it's going to be held here in Sagersville tomorrow beginning at 8:30 in the morning. Every year, the Kentucky Housing Corporation conducts a K-count to best monitor the homeless situation in Kentucky. The United States Department of Housing and Urban Development requires such a count every other year, but the KHC believes that it best serves the people of Kentucky to conduct this count every year. Results of the K-count demonstrate the need for resources for housing and services for homeless persons in each community across the Commonwealth. The K-count also helps determine how much federal funding will be awarded from HUD for homeless programs. And in addition, the K-count helps assess progress under Kentucky's 10-year plan to end homelessness and provide important information for updating that plan. Here in Sangersville, tomorrow, the 2015 K-Count, the annual count of homeless populations, will begin at 8:30 in the morning at the Lloyd M. Hall Community Center in downtown Sangersville. It lasts until 3:30 in the afternoon. There will be food and drinks available, as well as referrals to services, including housing resources. And it's not just about getting these resources to the homeless tomorrow, but also getting an exact number or a better idea as to how many homeless people there are in our area to be able to get more services for their needs. So if you know someone who is homeless, if you're watching this program from somewhere and are homeless, call 886-8572, or you can be at the Lloyd M. Hall Community Center tomorrow from 8:30 till 3:30. Now, we'll be talking to representatives tomorrow to find out more about their efforts and to get a better idea. Homeless in the viewing area might not sound like it is that great of a situation. Larger cities like Lexington, Louisville, we know they have a large homeless population. But I suspect, and we'll find out tomorrow, that it's much more serious here in our little part of the world than maybe even you or I may think. I'll be right back with more headlines in just a second. I spoke with Kyle Edlin of the Office of the United States Attorney for the Eastern District just a few moments ago, and he referred me to one of the prosecutors on not just one but two cases that we're focusing on tonight. Now, that prosecutor has been in Washington, D.C. throughout much of the week, and I'm literally awaiting a phone call that we'll be able to work into the program should we get it anytime in the next few moments. With that said, I'll need to go on and talk to you and relay to you information as much as I can about those two cases, beginning with the formal sentencing today of former Morgan County Judge Executive Timothy Alexander Conley. Tim Conley, of course, has made headlines. We followed the case very closely since it was first reported about his involvement in a kickback scheme that he devised with a Sangersville construction company owned by Kenneth and Ruth Gamble, who had since entered guilty pleas and then agreed to cooperate with authorities, receiving a probated sentence and house arrest for their punishment. However, for Timothy Conley, his punishment pertaining to the scale of things or the schedule that they go by for his crimes, number of crimes, and the degree of his crimes, indicated that he should spend about 7 years in prison. Federal prosecutors say that since his actions after pleading guilty, they thought that it deserved a stiffer sentence. The question was today not if he was going to be sentenced, but to how many years in federal prison. Because he maintained his title as Morgan County Judge Executive and then actively pursued re-election even after pleading guilty to one of the 6 charges of fraud against him, prosecutors went back to the drawing board and wanted a stiffer sentence that equated to about 11 years. Timothy Alexander Conley, the former Judge Executive today, was sentenced officially to 87 months in federal prison, that is 7 years and 3 months, for soliciting and accepting over $100,000 in those illegal kickbacks from the scheme. U.S. District Judge Gregory Van Tatenhoff sentenced him for honest services mail fraud and then ordered him to pay $130,000 in restitution. $104,000 of that will go to the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. $26,000 of that will go directly to Magoffin County. Now, under federal law, he will also have to serve at least a minimum of 85% of that 7-year sentence before being eligible for parole. Now, he is not in custody. He was not remanded to custody after the hearing this morning in Frankfort, but is set to report to federal authorities on March the 24th. The Department of Corrections will, in the meanwhile, determine his location to be incarcerated. Conley admitted, of course, that his guilty plea back in August, that between early 2009 and sometime in August of 2013, he rigged the county's competitive bidding process to ensure that contracts from a great variety of Morgan County bridges and other projects were awarded to the PBTHNO-JJ construction company owned by the Gambles in McGoffin County. Even on one occasion, not just making sure they got the low bid, but when they had the highest bid, he took it and then raised it tens of thousands of dollars to further see that he was able to line his pockets and or the Gambles at the same time. Now turning to calendar announcements for this Tuesday, all brought to you by McGoffin Farm Bureau and your local agent Doug Green. It's a happy birthday wish to Lisa Yates. Happy birthday, Lisa, from Philip, Rachel. I'm sorry, but somebody in Dolores just can't make out the writing. My apologies. You know who it is. And they all want to say happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Lisa Yates. And one quick reminder for the rest of the calendar tonight, the Elk Creek Free Will Baptist Church has a revival still going on. They started, I think, last Wednesday, and it's still nightly at 7, and you are still invited to join them. Revival nightly at 7 at the Elk Creek Free Will Baptist Church. And we invite you to use and come on over to our community calendar anytime you've got a birthday, anniversary, or an organizational or church announcement like you see here every night in the program. They're always free and just as easy as sending them to me, either dropping them off here at the newsroom or dropping them in the mail. Phone, fax, email, Facebook them on over, however you want to get them here. We'll get them on TV and tell everybody all about it. Turning to funeral service announcements for this Tuesday, we begin with those to be held in honor of Beatrice Carrier McCarty, 82 of Sagersville, who passed away on the 25th, preceded in death by her husband, Dorsey Claxton Conley. She's survived by sons James Dorsey, Alan Dale, Danny Claxton, Carol Edison, and Kevin Daniel McCarty, and a daughter, Kathy Sue Maggard. Visitation is the rest of this evening and any time prior to services. They'll start tomorrow morning at 11 with visitation and services from the McGoffin County Funeral Home Chapel. 83-year-old Hattie Williams Webb of Sagersville passed away on the 26th, married to James Webb, who preceded her in death. She survived by 5 daughters, Wani Minix, Linda Arnott, Brenda Burgett, Shelby Arnott, and Charlotte Montgomery. Visitation is this evening. It's all day tomorrow and up until services that start in her honor at 11 o'clock on Thursday morning. And visitation and services are from the McGoffin County Funeral Home. Burial will take place at the Flat Fork Cemetery at Flat Fork in McGoffin County. It looks as though I'll have to forego, at least for tonight's program, the interview that we had set and hoped to have in-house by this hour with the prosecutor with the United States Attorney's Office. I do know that he was in Washington, D.C. and is expected to call us this evening. Just don't have that ready before airtime, as it does pertain to 2 cases that he was working on and we're reporting on tonight, and that being the Tim Conley case, former Morgan County Judge Executive, and the settlement with the Transtar Ambulance Service. So we hope to have him answering some questions for me in the near future and possibly on tomorrow's program. I do have in front of me, however, as I did not last night at airtime, the settlement agreement between Transtar Ambulance Service and the United States government, which details much more than just the $948,000 that Transtar has been ordered to pay the government. That settlement agreement lists Paul Allen Lafferty as the sole owner of Transtar. It also cites that back on January the 31st of 2013, Kevin Farley filed an action in U.S. District Court against or claiming that several ambulance services, Transtar Ambulance, Appalachian First Response Emergency Services, the City of Paintsville EMS, and the Elkhorn Ambulance Service, were all billing federal health care programs for non-emergency ambulance services that were not payable because they were not medically necessary. That whistleblower also further alleged that the defendant ambulance companies offered and provided payment, if you will, in some form, it did not say, to hospitals and other patient referral sources in exchange for those referral of patients who may need ambulance transport services that were provided by Transtar. And from February the 1st of 2006 through December the 31st of 2012, Transtar provided those non-emergency, routinely scheduled ambulance transport services to dialysis patients who were transported from their home or a nursing home or a dialysis center back and forth. In particular, it says Transtar provided these services to a subset of 32 patients who received 100 or more non-emergency transports for dialysis to a clinic within 1 calendar year. They refer to that as the high-volume patients of the entire situation. The United States also contends that these claims were false because they falsely represented the other methods of transportation as being contraindicated by the high-volume patient's medical condition. Basically, they were saying that they had to be taken by ambulance when the federal government says they weren't. The settlement agreement is neither an admission nor a liability by Transtar, nor a concession by the United States that its claims are not well-founded. So as the terms and conditions are outlined, it says Transtar has to pay the United States $948,000 plus interest on the settlement amount at a rate of 2.5%. They have to pay $75,000 within the first 10 days of the settlement agreement, and then over a period of 5 years, pay off the remaining $873,000 plus an interest at 2.5% annum. If they default, that interest rate goes to 12%, and then it is due upon call. Transtar has also been ordered to pay the whistleblowers or the Relators Council $65,000 for their legal fees. And some other details also contained therein say that the Office of the Inspector General says that they will refrain from instituting, directing, or maintaining any administrative action seeking exclusion from Medicare and Medicaid, meaning that they will not ask Medicaid or Medicare or force them to no longer use their services as long as they abide by the entire structured agreement. In the event of default, the Office of Inspector General may exclude Transtar from participating in all those federal health care programs and any future collection. The U.S. government also says that they have a claim over Transtar for $4.2 million. Now, I'm unable to ascertain without that interview that I mentioned a few moments ago if that is what they believe that Transtar ultimately charged fraudulently for services that should not have been rendered, but it does state the United States has a valid claim against Transtar in the amount of $4.266 million and may pursue its claim in the case that Transtar does not hold up its end of the bargain. And once again, I hope to be able to speak with federal prosecutors soon and elaborate more on this, as well as representatives of Transtar. That's all something that we are indeed working on, as is trying to wrap up this show with your Licking Valley RECC forecast, which is not a misprint when we talk about 13 degrees. I also have another few report pending about a Clay County man convicted in an overdose death case that I'll just have to put off until tomorrow. Once again, my apologies. But nevertheless, 37 degrees is where I topped out today weather-wise. 13 degrees tonight for the low, and then followed by some more sunshine tomorrow. 35 degrees. We'll drop 10 degrees for tomorrow night's low. And while it's going to be a nice day midweek and on the cooler side of things, I'd hope to see the 40s squeezed out of your Wednesday's forecast, but it's backed off quite a bit, down to 35. And while sunny skies throughout the day will be nice, they'll be followed by a 20% chance of some snow. Not until really 4 o'clock Thursday morning. So Wednesday, not all that bad. Cold, but clear and more sunshine. And sunshine is nice. Thursday, temperatures do make it into the 40s, but that's also our first of several rounds of potential snowfall and precipitation. Thursday, a chance of rain and snow before 1, then changing over to rain thereafter. As we see cloudy skies, temperatures in the low to mid-40 range, and some winds 7 to 16 miles per hour at times. We'll see that rain continuing possibly into the evening, and it may change back over Thursday night. A little bit carrying over to your very early Friday morning with a 20% chance of some early snow. Temperatures right at freezing for your Friday. Back down into the teens will fall on Friday. Saturday is definitely going to be a nice one. So some sun Friday and some sun Saturday. Temperatures right around 37 degrees. And then Saturday night might be our next and possibly our biggest potentially winter weather maker for a while, Saturday night at least. A chance of rain and snow late Saturday night. That precipitation will carry into your Sunday forecast, where we expect to see temperatures on Sunday still be in the upper 30s, but rain and snow are likely. And then as temperatures fall back down to 25, I think it's likely we're going to still see some precipitation falling, and when it does, it will change back over and then maybe carry into some snowfall early on your Monday morning of next week, and whatever's here Monday morning will stay because we're not going to be above freezing for daytime highs next Monday, with an estimated daytime high at 29 degrees. And Monday night's low, another non-misprint. I've made a lot of mistakes. This is not one of them. A low of 9 degrees, mostly cloudy skies, another chance of snow. Winter might be trying to crank up and make up for some lost time. Not that I'm really all excited about it. Nevertheless, we'll find out more about it and a whole lot of other news when I see you back here tomorrow night for more of Your News Today. For now, thank you so much for watching.